I don't know whether I'm more hungry, anxious, or just pressurized. And I don't want to say hungry because, I've been given, 12 minutes? I've got just about 126 slides. Yeah. I love the smiles, yeah. So let me just try this once. Can you imagine? I mean, Zomato's calling me. I've not even ordered anything. I mean, it's just crazy coincidence. Okay. All right. So a little bit of Gyan, a little bit of a mix of the kind of work that we're doing. I'm Niraj Shah, based out of Ahmedabad. It's EDO design and IDO graph. Distinctly two verticals, interior design and graphic design. Graphic design on its own, without interiors, does a lot of branding, strategy, advertising. And both of them merge, especially in retail design, where we start with the identity, positioning of the brand, creating everything that is to do with the identity, and then taking it ahead into the interior space. Because it's a lot, and because all of these things have kind of governed most of the work and the thought process, we thought, and we still think and believe, that we don't do any signature work. And this is quite a bit of a discussion everywhere, especially coming in from an academic kind of background like CEPT in Ahmedabad. So a lot of discussions happen. Even styles are kind of considered as signatures. But then, whose signature is it anyway? So we know that signature is something that is distinctive, it is an identification and has certain characteristics. I'm going to run really, really fast, don't worry. So we know that it's a representation, right? And the identity is the fact of being who or what a person or thing is, and the characteristics determining who or what a person or thing is. And we know this representation in art. So whose representation is this really? Whose signature is it? Was it originally a signature? Was it just an expression? And then did it start kind of representing something else? And we know that we can distinctly put them into different brackets, considering that we now recognize them as identities. And then same thing with architecture, right? We've got vernacular, we've got deconstruction, we've got modern, and all the other movements that have been there. But within modern architecture itself, we've got signatures from most of these architects that we've kind of known, right? You can distinctly recognize a Gehry versus a Libeskind versus a Michael Graves, postmodern. And similarly with interiors. As much as bracketed as we may think it is, and as eclectic as we are going now, we know that we take and borrow from all of this. Make a mishmash, hogwash, whatever, but we cannot kind of ignore this. And I've kind of, put this minimal contemporary Indian and what even Manishji kind of, so there's so much of fusion of craft and, things that are coming in. And we know that we have all the influences that are coming from everywhere else. But there's been a lot of attempt, what Rajiv Seni has been doing, and, especially Ras and all of that. So these attempts have been there to bring in craft. And then, of course, we can't miss identity in terms of how we recognize. But importantly, the identity is only what we recognize, but there's a large philosophy behind it. So every advertisement that we see, and which is anything, static or otherwise, should be thought of as a contribution to the complex symbol which is brand image, which means it represents something much beyond what it is. So in general, this is what we do. Both of these kind of completely different from each other. Product, graphics, furniture, identity, strategy, and promotions. And I'll quickly take you through. So these are the multiple branches, and lifestyle accessories and idiosyncrasies. Design takes care of most of this, and a lot of retail and F&B. We've kind of got into a clothing brand. We have complete only startup consulting and furniture brand called Fine Metal. So I've already said this. I'll run through. So this is one of these sari, Gagra Choli kind of places in Ahmedabad. Very, very popular. Third generation now. It's almost about with 3 branches, 3 in Ahmedabad and 1 in Surat. So we've been handling some of the branding, and so this is 2011-12. So we do everything so we try to reposition them. And typically these are not designer brands, right? They are still your typical sari shops. But the aspiration value is higher. They will be competing with all of those, as well as competing with boutiques, homegrown, as well as the larger names. So this is how a kind of a shoot campaign, is worked out. So, creating sets for it and then shooting it, and then kind of releasing it. So this was color blocking in those days. This is, part of the presentation that is done, made to the client in terms of how we kind of move to the next year. So we do a recap of the earlier one and then go to the next one. And we've kind of mixed it because there was a lot, so I kind of, remove this. So what we were doing is what you see on the right hand side was connecting it to Ahmedabad itself, right? So because you want to have a certain kind of a context. And this is just to kind of take you through a little process in terms of, we decide on everything, obviously, the models, the makeup, the hairdo, the accessories, all of that, the styling. Complete charts are done, and this runs in pages. I just kind of have one sample in terms of location, hairdo, props, etc. And what we did here, if you see, we wanted to shoot in the older parts of Ahmedabad as well as the newer places in Ahmedabad, which means, so this is Sanskar Kendra. So you had this whole thing of past, present, celebrating city of Ahmedabad, and then you had the pole house, and then you had the riverfront, because it was just being developed at that particular time. So, the whole hardness of the concrete versus, and if you see the kind of, the garment also kind of changes because it's become, slightly more fusion. And this is almost about 4 or 5 years later, the whole look and feel changes in terms of the way the brand evolves. I'm not getting into that. It's a lot of theory. So everything from shoot to etc. Now this is interesting. You've all heard of Have More Ice Cream. So we were involved with Have More Have Fun parlors initially for almost about 3-4, must have done about 60-70 outlets, which were kind of repeat as a format and all that. And then at one point, very interesting discussion happened when we were out together, the owner's son, the second generation, third rather. And so we were looking at some of these international, like a Haagen-Dazs or something in Hong Kong. We were together. So he says, why don't you, design parlors like this for us? And we were actually eating that ice cream. So I said, why don't you first make ice cream like this? So which means that because there wasn't a market for the ice cream like that, which means that cost, that consistency, which is less air, little more fat, thicker, creamier ice cream, which is more expensive to make. Obviously, that means there was no market for it, which means that you could not spend that much of money on a parlor, right? And so Have More Ice Cream finally got sold. We advised them to create something called Huber and Holly, which we'd worked on the identity, etc. Initially, all of that, packaging, all that. And after Huber and Holly, so it was a joke. We said like, why don't you do this? You may want to sell it off, blah, blah, blah. Created another brand. So Have More was known for ice cream. Now this is very, very important. Have More was known for ice cream. It was known for its chana puri, which is very, very popular there. And it's not called chole bhature, but chana puri there in Ahmedabad. A very distinctive taste, signature. And they also had restaurants, regular family dine restaurants, and good large spectrum. Now imagine, after all of this, Have More Ice Cream was sold to Lotte a couple of years back. And you're going to lose the name. You can't use the name for a long period of time. You can use the name. The license was, you can't get into, it was non-compete. And you were allowed to use Have More only if you were, it had to be something which was connected. And it came from their surname, which was Chonas, and it was House of Chonas Collaborative. Came in as HOC, etc., but came in like this. So it was, so as a sound, it had no baggage or anticipation through its meaning, right? Less known. The moment you start associating with something else, you start getting other things, and which we didn't want because it already had its own baggage. All of this, like, the tone of voice, the brand, all of this. Yeah, so it would be taken into everything else. You make it rockling, because you want a more younger crowd to kind of, connect to it. Woot, woot, hoodie, hoo. Of course, this is all run down, client said, nobody's going to know, this is not, we're not in America, blah, blah. Funsies were small bites, feed up and ready to go. So you start creating what we call is a package of words which are going to be used for promotions, etc. And obviously with digital, it's even more required. The kind of products and the target audience. And then I'll just take you through quickly through all of this, the packaging, the whole process, and just a part of it. Obviously, it needed the Hindi font, the local regional. What's interesting, so these are mood shots created. What you see there, family shot. This took about a day, just one single shot. Shot from 14 feet height. So this represents the entire family and the entire, almost all the menu items, which were kind of, the brand was associated with. Also, we must have tried about 40, 50 items ourselves. A lot of innovation happened. There is dal makhni pizza. Because it was again that whole idea of fusion, because they were into regular Indian Punjabi food as well as, and pizza is just your naan, so why wouldn't that work? And that worked. Also, they used to have cutlets and samosas. Incidentally, the son, Ankit's wife Gayatri, she's a nutritionist. So when she came into the family, she started running all of this down. She said, like, you can't have so much of fried stuff and blah blah blah. It's not too healthy. We had to get all of that back, right? Because the association was that. And then, of course, the entire page about iconography, all the rest of the packaging. There's some bit of the interiors that you see, uniforms, all the visual branding, print. And that image was basically splashed across the city. Hoardings, full page ads, jacket ads, etc., etc. And then the interior mood boarding. Because it's a format, a lot of zoning, etc., needs to be done and pre-decided, as it is taken ahead. And that's what it. So, because it was going to be repeated, we changed 66 boards overnight, because we had to convince the franchisees as well to come on board. I mean, for them it would have been easier to go to have more ice cream, but they chose to come with the family. Was a big deal. So this went on and all of this. Extensive. Now 1944 belongs to the same guys. And this was done in order to again differentiate, and this happened before the sellout. This happened in order to differentiate the restaurant business. And restaurant business needed to be slightly upped because it was getting too kind of a very, very large spectrum. So no pricing change, only the feel had to change slightly. So we said, what do we fall back on? Restaurants are being done like, sometimes, with all due respect, sometimes all four walls are, completely different from each other. We thought there had to be some rationale, whatever. And we connected, we said 1944, what else connects to it? We said Art Deco, obviously, right? Because 1920s, 30s, this is when it was coming in. Let's see if we can kind of add that without making it too premium. If it became too premium, it was a problem. People would not, the same people would not come back. And the ROs are fantastic, and APC in Ahmedabad is very low, right? So you'll find restaurants will have a lot of long continuous seating because you need more number of people, sitting in at the same time. Also because you don't have alcohol, remember? You guys have, yeah. But there's no alcohol. Revenues are crazy, right? Imagine, Sumesh was showing bars and not like 3 bars in the same place. Oh, sorry. I'm going back. Sorry. So sorry. Yeah. So this happened, and everything from the name, logo, identity, menu, the interiors. This was done in about 28 days, flat, scratch, from start to finish. Things pre-ordered, etc. And this, at that time, we were not too sure whether this is going to be done as a format or not. So another one was done in another location, 2 floors, old building, blah, blah. So same kind of language, changed. Vaishno Devi is not the Vaishno Devi, but this is a location area in Ahmedabad. And then with a little double height, little more space, same colors, reject, etc. So you still have an identity, and it still becomes, kind of 3 different looks, but you know that you're in the same place. So the restaurants, obviously, either they have kind of from a brand perspective where you're developing everything, so this is yes, surprisingly, the first vegetarian Japanese restaurant. It's called Bento Bee. So everything from name, logo, interiors, etc. Just quickly, I'm just running through some of these. This is called Filtons. This is a bowl meal place. Again, in the same place. Wagbakri tea lounges, which are coming out everywhere. And residences, of course, user-centric. So, just 1 or 2 picks, okay? Sorry, maybe I'm just going too fast. This is a bungalow. This is another bungalow. We're talking about and we call this luxury, just because there is gold in it. Very Scandinavian, very clean, very neat. Very homely, lot of art. the owner is herself into plants and bonsai and all of that. And this apartment was bought necessarily on the second floor because there's a tree outside and you can see that being reflected, in from the outside. And this we call the crazy floor penthouse. It's crazy. I mean, actually, somebody's actually living in a house which has red floor. Yeah, crazy, right? This is our own house. And yeah. So this and our cat there, so she helped us choose this. And this was my wife's idea. So both of us are designers from Sept. And so she said, we think of ideas and we think we can carry it off. Very often clients don't allow us to do things like this. Obviously, how do you convince somebody to live in a red floored house? And this is red. This is not terracotta. This is pure red. This is a Johnson Endura 1x1 industrial tile. Okay. And we tried it and we just changed it about last month. We just put some wooden flooring on it. But not that we were, fighting more, or we were more anxious, or we were more passionate. The red really worked, and in such a way. What I mean is that you could and when elders came in, you kind of, we're waiting for them to kind of give some comment, and they were like 45 minutes, and we asking, we said, "Bas kuch to bolo floor ke bare mein." So they're like, "Arey haan, red hai," and literally that is how it was. We were shocked that you could actually take it for granted. That, there could be a red floor and you could kind of, so it's kind of warm and obviously, and you cut it down with greys and whites. And this was a, multi-awarded experience center for a real estate company where we did everything, all the branding and, brochures and catalogs and the advertising in the city and all of that, and created this experience center, which was completely color block, monochrome, with 3 different zones: music, sound, smell, sensory. You just kind of move in 15 minutes and, kind of get out. And all of this kind of, custom made, single piece, bent, MS, table and all of that. I'm not getting to that. So, but art should be an extension of oneself, a signature, albeit an ever-evolving one. So we kind of bring in, within design itself, with all the context and all that, we bring in a lot of ourselves, right? A lot of art into it. And some of my, abstract photography, which was displayed in one of the exhibitions ahead. So which means that either you kind of become an artist within your design, or you kind of really pick up art and say that let's keep the art out. Let's keep the art separately as an expression. So then, does not having a signature become a signature over time? I leave it to you. Thank you. Actually, as fun, Sumesh, and I've kind of done this before, and the same one for about 45 minutes with more slides and not so fast. No, I won't do that. But I'll tell you what, just for the fun of it, it's not please. You will not really miss the fact that you're sitting here without lunch, and it ends beautifully well with what he's just going to play. And it's very familiar to you. It's just little music that you'll kind of listen to. It'll take precisely 2 minutes. If you can play the video, it's okay. If no video, only sound is also okay. Not this. Not a bad one. I think so. So most of you have kind of heard this a lot.
ඉඩමක් ගන්න හොඳ ගෙයක් හදාගන්න කතා කරන්න අප්ලෑන්ඩ් එකට
If the internet is good. Where is it playing? You're from there. Oh. Okay. That's right. But there's the other one, no problem. So you all have heard this? All of you are familiar with this? How many are not? Humpty or not? Oh, no, no. Cut. Tell about this. The other one. So this was what, 400 million views? 400 million views. The first one. So check this, Google this. This is a lady, she's playing this on the street in Denmark. And this was in about 1 month, 30 days, less than 30 days. The video is amazing because I mean she's not an Indian or a Sri Lankan or an Asian. But next. Now these are the pressures, right?
I love that.
It could be like an eternity. I only want your love, your love, your love.
So all this that you're hearing
I only
is
want your love, your
reviews that
love,
have
your
been
love.
okay? And the reviews
know you got
themselves
me
got
dancing days,
1.3,
haven't
1.6
you
million views.
Oh baby,
Then there were reviews of the reviewers,
you
which got
No.
about 600k,
when it's Coke Studio,
and then, do you know this is not even
must
the
be
original.
freaking out.
So that's the original one. The first one. Now that was actually the surprise, but I had to just say it. So where she's featured, but is the male voice. You know, there's this back of this lady with on a bicycle. Last one. Yeah. Please play it. थोड़ा volume करना. Said the male voice. No problem. Sorry. Cut it. So anyway, take a look at it. The whole point is that in this whole world of the internet, social media, digitally things available, what's lost is actually the original identity, and we don't know what is actually getting the likes, what is getting the following, and where did it really originate. And even with a song like this, which went viral, which is amazing, the original song, which was not a copy, she was a part of it. It was sung by the one who was actually directed the music, so there was no breach there in terms of copyright or whatever. But the number of places that this song has gone is next level. Today we connected Collabority with this, and I don't know if you've heard this, but there was a Coke ad which used a similar tune. So this is a big issue. Whether to create a signature which is our own identity, or then to kind of get mixed up in the sea or the large ocean of things that are kind of happening and we don't know where we are. So I'll leave it to that. Thank you.